Okay, welcome. So today is our Tuesday Bliss Techniques meeting. And apparently I should consolidate the meetings that we use in Zoom so that there's not confusion about which meeting to join when and on what day. So that's a note to myself. Today we are going to explore perhaps some very interesting and helpful things. It will be helpful to have a towel or some kind of cloth that you will be comfortable against your face, because at a certain point, hopefully, we will explore having the face it will be on the floor or whatever you're going to be resting on, and sliding the skin of the face. So something that will be comfortable to have against your face. Okay, so our goal for today, for our practice, because this will be a guided practice, uh, is to support you in whatever your intention is, assuming it's a good intention. So it's always helpful and a good way to start to get clear on what your intention is. So whatever your good intention is, then I would say that that is, in some form or fashion, it is an intention of healing. I use the word healing to mean a restoration of wholeness or a sense of wholeness. So your intention may be for healing on a physical level. It may be for healing on a mental level. It may be healing on an emotional level. It may be healing on an energetic level. It may be healing in relationship. It may be healing in body. It may be healing uh, your if you have a sense, if you live from a kind of poverty consciousness or sense of lack, it could be healing uh, of abundance. So whatever, and it could be any combination or variation on this theme, but whatever the intention is, whatever your intention is, take a moment to get clear on that. So what is it that is important to you? Oftentimes we go through our days and we didn't really have clarity about what we were intending for that day or in our lives. And so what happens instead of what it is that we would otherwise consciously intend, what happens is whatever it is that is karmic, I guess you could say. I mean, is simply the result of whatever it is that we've done in the past. So whatever our habits have been, or whatever efforts we've made in the past that have produced some kind of result of some kind will come back to us. And if we're unconscious, then we'll just repeat the same basic thing. And so it just becomes more and more solidified in our lives, whether it's a postural habit or a habit of how it is that we understand the world, how we understand other people, how we understand ourselves, and all of this. So be clear on what you want. Be clear on what your intention is, and be clear that it's true and good. I mean, you don't have to be fearful that it would be bad if it's true. So I guess I should just say it's true/good. So look to your soul. What is, the soul? I mean, what this essential you, the essential self, not the things that come and go, not the things that have been borrowed, not the ideas about who you should be, how you should be, any of those kinds of things, not who you're parents or your spouse or your children or your neighbors or your employer or your employees or your whoever want you or think you should be, but who you actually are. That of you which is uh, cannot be cannot be let go of. When you let go of all else, this is what remains. This is the soul. So be clear from your soul. What is it that you truly desire? And don't make the mistake of censoring because you think, oh, that's not proper, that's not okay, or you have judgments about what you'll accept. But if those judgments are against your soul, then you're working against yourself all the time. And who are you to judge your soul? I mean, think about that for a second. So clearly, the one that we've identified as or with is an imposter. It says that it's in a position to judge your soul. So we don't have to demonize this self, this imposter. We can have compassion for it and recognize that it was really in a desperate situation. It was afraid, but nonetheless, it's really important that we completely accept our own souls, because if we're not willing to do it, we're really, again, working against ourselves, literally. So whatever that is, it's not bad. It's if it's true, it's good. So just be clear that it's true, that it emanates from your soul. There's a desire there, a desire for whatever it is. And if you don't judge it, you can just allow it and see the purity of it, and allow for the righteousness and goodness of it without having to figure it out in advance. So it could be things that whatever it is, a healing of the body, a healing of the psyche, a healing of the mind, healing of any whatever, and whatever, however trivial even it might seem, or how big it might seem. Okay, so that takes some time, I know, to say all those things, but I really want to make it clear because this is the most important step. Because intention is what we, so our intention and our attention are what give rise to our experience. So we want to be clear about the intention, and then we want to give attention to the intention. So you want to make this intention clear within yourself, state it clearly within yourself. It can be silently or out loud, but really don't let it be vague, because if it's vague, then how is it going to ever come into expression fully? The process of coming into expression requires that you give attention to the intention. So what is this intention? You have some idea, but it's not as clear as it could be and as it really ought to be if you're sincere about it. So be willing to dare to be bold to actually state it. What is it? I dedicate this practice to the healing of this body, to the healing of this mind, to the healing of this relationship, whatever it is. I want you to be clear enough that you can actually state it either silently or out loud, and do so. And this will anchor it for you so that you're able to return to this clarity of intention. Hopefully I will remember to prompt that, but if I do forget, then hopefully at least you can remember. We'll work together and see if we can remember, at least between us. somehow. Okay. So we're going to, so we're going to be doing some various movements today. And so it would be somewhat active. Um, if we're, live, at least small group today. So um, if you have any requests, please just let me know through the chat. I've disabled the ability for you to unmute yourselves, but you can just, if something comes up, if it's just too slow or too fast or whatever, you can let me know in the chat. But I'm gonna give a variety of things that you can explore, and it should give you a range um, of possibilities. So you don't have to do everything that all the possibilities that I suggest. I'm going to give you some various ideas that will be along a certain kind of theme. And then you can see what's most suitable for you today, and you can work with that. So we're going to start out on all fours, if that's comfortable for you. So you do want to have a place that's comfortable for that. I guess I should have mentioned that from the beginning. I'll try to remember that. Another note to myself, remember to give all the setup instructions at the beginning. But I'm giving them now. So you're going to want to have some comfortable place to be on all fours. So probably for most of us, that's not going to be on a bare floor because that's usually a little too hard, a little too firm for most of us to be on all fours comfortably. So you probably want to have some kind of padding, carpet, rug, yoga mat, blanket, something that is still going to allow you to have a sense of firmness and the support under you, something that's not going to slip around because you want to be stable, and also comfortable enough that you can be here. Because if you can't be here in a good way, so while I'm doing all this talking, really give attention to being here in a good way. So how can you be here on all fours in a good way, in a way, and how do you know that it's a good way? Well, in a way that really feels good to you. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine feeling really good? And if you can imagine it, then actually start to inhabit that. So you see that you have the ability to imagine, and you have the ability to think, to vocalize, to turn into language. So these are two important parts of the creative process. And then you also have this ability to feel and to move. So you can actually start to feel what it would be like to actually feel good. So you can imagine it, you can think it. Now I want you to actually feel it a little bit at least. And you'll notice that in order to feel good here on all fours, and remember, you can always take a rest from anything that I'm suggesting. So if it becomes strenuous, then just rest. You can lie down, you can sit on a chair, you can do whatever you need to do. But for those who are on their hands and knees, then you're you're finding out how can you actually enjoy this? How can it feel good? So maybe there are things that you're doing, ways that you're straining or numbing yourself that you have to become aware of and soften so that you can feel better. Of course, it helps if you're breathing, and it really helps if you're breathing in a smooth, gentle, comfortable way through the nose. And when you're breathing, be aware of how the breath can support you in your awareness of yourself so that you can further discover how to feel good here. because the breathing, it makes this a dynamic experience because it's changing. It's not the same from one second to the next. It's constantly changing. So can you find in that dynamic experience, in the movement, in the change, can you find the stability? Can you find the support? Can you find how to let go of the unnecessary effort so that you can feel good here? So now you can, so you've got an option right there. You can just, this is a great exploration in and of itself. You can always return to this if ever you feel like you need to return to something that's maybe a little simpler. You can always rest in some other position whenever you need. So you have options. See if it's possible for you to remain aware of your breath throughout. So that's a challenge, but just see if you can remain aware of the breath as you're aware of your body, your somatic self, your energetic sense of yourself. You're aware of all of this. You're opening to feeling good. And so it's a lot already, just with hardly doing anything. Now, for those who would like, you can begin to explore the cat-cow movement. So that is alternately, you will flex and extend the spine. So flexion of the spine means that while you're on all fours, your back is going to go toward the sky or the ceiling. So it would be like a cat stretching. Okay, you get that sense. And then alternately, you'll extend the back. So the extension means that there'll be an arch in the back, and the head, which is connected to the spine, will therefore move somewhat up. So there'll be a bow of the spine all the way continuous up to the head. So tailbone all the way up to the head. So you, at your own leisure and comfort, you can explore those two movements and see if it's possible for you to come into something that seems neutral in between the two of them, and kind of pause there and see if you can find neutral. I don't know if such a thing exists, but you could explore it. Just be curious about that so that you can see, can you find neutral? Is there really such a thing, or is it just an idea that you have? We don't know, but you could, maybe there is. So see, probably somewhere in the middle seems reasonable to think. So see if you can find anything like that, and then move to the other. And of course, that's just a possibility of like a template to work from. So you could modify that slightly to suit your needs. If maybe you say, you just want to do cat to neutral. Fine, you could do that. I don't know why, but you could do that. Or just cow to neutral. You could do that. So you know, experiment and explore if you'd like, but you've got the basic notion of something there that you can explore. Now, you could coordinate that with the breath. See if that makes any sense to you. You could maybe try it one way, try it a different way. So maybe you can try exhaling as you're going into the cat and inhaling as you come into the cow, or you could try the other way around, like in exhaling when you go into cow and inhaling when you go into cat. You could try only moving on the exhalation, only moving on the inhalation. So many different possibilities. I mean, there's more than that too, but So if that seems like too much to choose from, then just choose one, or don't choose any. You don't have to coordinate it with the breath. So all of these different possibilities give you things that you can be curious about and you can explore. We don't really want to we don't want to get ourselves locked into, or I'm not proposing that we should try to get ourselves locked into the one way. So if we're seeking for the one way, then there's something artificial about that. Rather, I think my aim here is that we explore our experience to discover what is true for us, what feels good, what is our truth, and to find that, to discover that, and to cultivate the skills that help us to do that. So it's not just to find it, but it's actually to have the skills that allow us to do that, so that we can continue to do that, so that we continue to experience greater and greater clarity, uh, peace, support, confidence, is healing, we could say. Okay, so that's a good reminder. Just what is your intention? What are you dedicating this practice to? You just in a light way. You don't have to make it heavy-handed, but just notice that and make sure that you're respecting that, so that you're acting in accordance with that. Like if your intention was uh, gentleness, for example, and then you found yourself behaving in a impatient, frustrated, violent sort of way within yourself, then it would be helpful to remember what your intention is, so that you can act in alignment with that. Okay. So now um, I just want to remind you that you can rest anytime that you need. And really, I mean that. This is not an endurance contest. So it's learning self-care is an important part of the process. So whenever you need that, be willing to give yourself that, and know and trust that life is going to be okay. You don't have to worry so much. You don't have to be so concerned about every little detail. It's okay if you need to rest, that you can give yourself that and find out that life's going to support you. It's the only way to really know it, is to actually take the action that's needed in order to find out, the thing that we're afraid of, or the thing that we're resistant to, that actually at a soul level we know is true, that we need to do, even though it's uncomfortable or we're scared. So okay, so now for those who would like another option, um, which is nice sometimes to have variety, and um, so we will continue from all fours. And now you can, so we've moved in one plane, the cat and cow. Now you could look to your right. So notice that as you look to your right, of course, your head's going to turn, but you want to notice that your head does not exist in isolation. It exists as part of the whole self. And so your whole self has to move, actually. So notice the shape of that movement. Feel the shape of that movement within your somatic experience. So we're on all fours for those who would like. And if you don't want to, then you certainly don't need to do it. But we're looking to the right and we're noticing that the whole self is involved in this. It's not just the head, the eyes, the head, the neck, the shoulders, really the whole spine, all the ribs, all the spine, all the way down to the tailbone. So the pelvis, meaning the hips, even the legs are involved, even the arms are involved. You can notice that as you do this, right, as you're turning, the relationship of the arms to the hands and the shoulders has to change. Well, it should change, at least. Now, none of this is probably very dramatic movement. It's pretty small movement in some sense, but you can be aware of it. So you're just repeating this at whatever frequency is comfortable for you. But you're just noticing that you can look and then you can come back. And each time you do it, you want to feel the whole self moving. See if you can be aware of your breathing as you're doing it. And just notice what you experience as you're doing this. So, like one thing that I've noticed in my own experience when I'm doing this kind of thing is I can experience what I would consider to be at certain points frustration or impatience, irritation, fatigue. So various kinds of things, and there could be other experiences too that could be very positive, but the ones that I've just described are ones that I would consider to be somewhat negative, let's say. So of the experiences that are negative, I want to start to be aware of those because those are helping me. They're reminding me that I'm needing to remember something. What do I need to remember in this case if I'm experiencing anything negative like that, like I just described the fatigue or irritation or impatience or these kinds of things? Well, what I'm needing to remember is self-care. I need to slow down. I need to relax more. I need to be more gentle. I need to be more nurturing. I need to be willing to rest more. So just a reminder that we're exploring feeling good, right? So whatever your intention is, I know that it's a healing intention, and that healing is a restoration of wholeness, which feels good. We feel good when we experience wholeness. So our practice is a practice, it's a healing practice, which means that we're practicing feeling good. We're practicing the experience of healing. It's self-healing. It's a I hope you're understanding how powerful this is, because we can go looking for all of the fancy things and all of the whiz-bang things and all of the the things that have big followings and the big billboards and all, thinking that the things that give these, they promise these sudden explosive dramatic kinds of experiences, and we can keep chasing after those, all the while ignoring that the true healing is self-healing. So all the other things, that best what they can do is stimulate self-healing. But for there to be true healing, it has to be self-healing. It has to be something that where nature within is trusted. We have there, so there we create, we cease to give rise to that sense of inner division. And instead, the self-healing is that restoration of wholeness, which means the mending of our relationship with our inner nature, outer nature too, but start with inner nature, I guess. Okay, so now you could do the same to the left, of course. Starts to get pretty imbalanced if we just always go into the right. So let's try going to the left. Now you've explored going to the right quite a lot, maybe. So you could explore going to the left, see how much did you learn when by looking to the right, and maybe you'll find that you can kind of translate that in a sense to looking to the left to kind of speed up your learning process. Because one thing is that this all the healing is self-healing, as I've said. So the intelligence, think about this, the intelligence that has created you, every living being, every uh, particle of light that organizes and orchestrates everything through all eternity and all of space. That same intelligence is present in you. It's what it's what is every nuance of your experience is both facilitated by this intelligence, and it is this intelligence. This intelligence is your experience. So the intelligence which has been able to, let's say, flawlessly organize and orchestrate infinity, that knows how to, has given rise to all life. So it is both, well, it's not only what gives rise to all life, it's the very life itself. So it's the creation of life, it's the sustenance of life, and it's the transformation of life. And somehow we get this funny idea that we're beyond that somehow, that there's somehow we're an exception, that the miracles might happen elsewhere, but they can't happen here somehow. I don't know why we think that, but we do. So as you're doing these explorations, be aware that you can receive the fullness of the healing now, because that intelligence, which is the very life that you are, it has no limitations. So you can look to the left just as well as you can look to the right, and maybe even better. And then now you could look to the right again and notice that you can look to the right even better than you could before if you allow it. And you can see, you look back and forth between left and right. Now you could also introduce looking up into the whole mix. So you could kind of start to make a little bit of a circle where you could look to the right, and then you could look kind of down, and maybe a little, no, down, we'll say down. And then you could look to the left, and the whole body's involved in every one of the movements. So this should be pleasant. If it's not pleasant, then don't do it in that way. And if you don't know how to do it in a way that's pleasant, then don't do it. Because there's nothing to be gained from you just doing something in a way that's bad, something in a way that's hurtful to you. No good will come from that. So remember, part of the lesson that we can learn here is self-care. So you get to choose. Be sensitive, be honest, and whenever there's a clear no about something, then you just honor that. And then from looking left, you can look up. And so you're kind of making this circle. I hope that makes sense. So, and it's just within your range of comfort. So don't strain, don't, and it should be fluid. It should be smooth so that the whole body's involved. So notice I'm not saying just turn your head, because if you just turn in your head, you're going to pinch stuff. It's going to be uncomfortable. The whole self, the whole spine, the whole body is involved, so that when the head moves, the spine moves. When the head moves, the tailbone is moving. You can feel the whole self involved. It should feel good. Okay. Now, whenever you feel satisfied with that, and remembering that you can always take a rest, and that's a good thing to do if you need a rest. For those who would like to, another thing to explore, you can do a little bit of now rocking forward and back, just a little bit. Just start really small and slow. See that you can hopefully also be aware of your breathing, that your breathing can also be smooth, pleasurable through the nose. So if you can't breathe through the nose, then you really need to reduce the activity. Because if you can't breathe through the nose, it's a good sign that you're trying to do something that's beyond your present capacities, given the present limitations due to the present conditioning. So it can all change, but just in the moment, remember, one of the principles is we have to start where we are. So if I'm trying to run a marathon and I can't even walk without breathing through my mouth, then I'm hurting myself. So it's important that I can breathe through the nose. And sometimes that just means slowing down. Okay. So you're just exploring, though, rocking forward and backward. So noticing everything that's involved in this. So the whole self is involved. So notice as you slowly, just a little bit, rock forward, notice what has to happen with your spine in order for this to be a good movement. I'll give you a clue. If you're gripping your spine, that's not it. If your spine feels cramped and tight and uncomfortable, that's not it. It should be fluid, and it's simply moving in the very best, most natural way that supports this movement, so that the movement feels good. Remember that nature is alive in you. So that nature, which knows everything there is to know about physics, for example, way more than anybody else knows. Even the most advanced physicist knows not even the smallest fraction of what nature knows about physics, because nature is the creator of physics. Nature is the physics. So the same intelligence that is the intelligence that allows a wildcat to miraculously do all the things that the wildcat does, the leaping and the pouncing and the climbing and the whole business. Same intelligence is operating here and knows how to move your spine in a way that is supple. So you want to open to that intelligence, and you'll find that actually it's not distant, it's really intimate. It's, again, if you just notice at the soul level, the soul just knows already what it is to express truly, to be here as it is intended to be, and it feels good. So you just open to that. And now maybe you find that you can come back a little further. Just see whatever's comfortable for you. Don't go beyond your present capacities, but just see, maybe you can bring the buttocks closer to the heels. Maybe not. All right. So you just, as you're rocking, just see, can you comfortably come a little further back? Maybe even all the way into the child's pose, where your buttocks do come to rest on the heels and your chest is on the thighs. If the legs are close enough together. If they're not, then the chest will be between the thighs. Variations. But it's totally what's comfortable for you. So if it's not comfortable, don't do it. Okay, so now you got a lot of possibilities of things that you can choose from here. So you could just be lying on the floor or lying in bed, hopefully aware of your breath and opening to feeling good. That's a totally valid possibility. You could be on all fours, just being aware of yourself and being there in a good way, breathing. That would be totally fine. You could be doing the cat cow, you could be doing the looking right and left, you could be doing the rocking, you could be doing child's pose, all of these things, other things that you could be doing that maybe you've invented, that would be fine. Although, I don't know, it might be nice to try the things that I'm suggesting. For those who would like, I will give you another thing that you can explore. Now, this one, you're going to want your towel for, or your cloth, or whatever it is. And you're going to want to have it where you're going to be able to put your face. So once you've got the towel or the cloth or whatever, you're going to be on all fours. And the cloth or towel is going to be somewhere roughly just in front of your hands, let's say. And it could vary. It could be a little different, depends on your body shape and hand placement and where you're going to be most comfortable with your face and so forth. So you're going to have to explore and experiment a little bit. But what you're going to do for this one is you're going to slowly lower your head to the floor. So you're still on your knees and your hands, but you're going to have to bend your elbows, and you're going to bring your head so that maybe the top of your head is on the floor, and you're taking a lot of the weight in your hands. So you're not putting all your weight on your head, because that would, for most of us, that's going to be kind of uncomfortable unless you've worked up to it. But what we're going to do, what the idea here is that we want to start to awaken the head. So a lot of us, we don't realize how tight we hold our scalps and all the musculature of the head and neck and shoulders. So this is a really nice way. You take most of the weight in your hands, but you can just gently start to find a way to kind of just slowly roll the head around, kind of like a wobbling top. So you just have to explore a little bit. Make sure that you're stable here. So if you can't do this in a good way, don't do it. If you have any uncertainty about your stability, don't do it. I mean, it's not particularly dangerous, but I don't want anybody falling. So be clear that it's a good thing that you're comfortable doing. But for those who are comfortable doing it, should feel good, should not be painful. There can be pain if there's a lot of tension. And so in a way, if you experience pain, take it as a good sign that you discovered something that has been causing you a lot of unpleasantness that you weren't even aware of, and you can release this and you'll feel better. But I'm not asking you to feel bad. I'm just saying, if you notice some pain, then obviously you got to really be super gentle here. But you're not that fragile. It's not like you're going to crumble. The pain is because of the tension if you experience pain. But I'm just saying, be gentle. Take as much of the weight in the hands and shoulders as is needed in order to be able to do this. And if you can't do it in a good way, then don't do it. But I find this to be really, really, really wonderful. And you can try going the other way with the head. So you were going, if you were going clockwise, you go counterclockwise, other way around, whatever. And just don't be rigid about it. Be exploratory, like a child, who's just finding out that they can do this and how wonderful it is, and that you could even have these sensations, or you could even do these things, have this experience. What a wonderful thing it is. You might not be thinking that, but you could imagine that a child might experience such a thing. And you could open to that kind of thing just to see if that might be possible, because what it might help you to do is find out how you can make it like that for yourself. Because who's in charge in a sense? Well, I mean, in the ultimate sense, nature, but in another sense, you are. So it's co-creative. Nature is saying, here's the full healing, and you're saying, not so much. I'm going to hold on to these rigid patterns here. So you have to become aware of the tendency to do that and be gentler, make it nice, find a nice way. And if you can't find a nice way, then don't do the thing. Okay, now, for those who would like another thing, we can take this another step further. And you can turn the head to the side so that your cheek comes to the floor on the cloth or the towel. And here, just like with the previous step, so we're going very stepwise, progressively. So please, again, be honest. If it's not for you right now, because you don't know how to do this in a good way, then don't do it. But be curious about it at least, and know that it's possible. So here, you still have your hands on the floor so that you can take up some of the weight, so that it's not all on your face and neck, but lower as much of it onto the face and neck as you can do in a good way. Now, from here, you've got a lot of options. You could slowly rotate the head and neck back and forth. It will be a small movement. It's not a big movement here. It's a very, very small movement, but this very slow, gentle, small rotation. So you're going to remember, you use the whole body. It's not just the head and neck, it's the whole body. So you've got to open, if you're turning to the side, then you've got to open and release the shoulder and the chest on the opposite side. And you've got to look with the eyes where you're going. And you've got to feel it all the way down the spine as much as you can, so that you can really feel the movement. Should not be strenuous. So if it's strenuous, I mean, it might be borderline strenuous because it's an unusual position and movement in some ways, but should be okay. If it's not okay, then don't do it. Now, you can also experiment with slowly, gently making some circle sliding or gliding your cheek, so that the skin should remain in contact with the surface, okay? But you're letting this flesh on the side of the face slide or glide as you're moving the head. Okay, so like circles are good. Now, this can be, if you have a lot of what I guess you call like adhesions, like fascial adhesions, where things have just become very stuck, then which tends to happen, I think, for people around the jaw, the TMJ area. So around the ear, because there's the TMJ is where the jaw and the skull come together, but then it's also where there's attachments from that's where the ear is, and then that's also where the attachments to the um, torso go. So there's a lot going on there, and things can get adhesions. So you want to, if it might be it's possible. What I'm getting at here is it might be a little bit possibly uncomfortable. Maybe not, but if it's a little bit uncomfortable, just be really, really gentle and slow, but know that you can soften so that it can be pleasurable, not uncomfortable. So don't hurt yourself. Don't scare yourself, but just find the edge and play with it in a good way, in a soft way. And then you can slowly lift and turn the head the other way, and if you wish, and lower the cheek to the floor. And similarly, you can do the turning, the rotation, the whole body, so your head is rolling on the side. It's in contact, but it's rolling as you're turning. So that's one possibility. And if you'd like to do that, try that. See if you can do that while aware of breathing. And can you also be aware, not that you need to be constantly in conscious awareness of your intention, but can you recall your intention? Good to know if you could recall your intention, because if you can't, maybe you're over exerting yourself. And then if you wish, you could also do the gliding of the cheek. So the skin glides, the flesh glides. Okay. And be gentle. Like I said, this can be somewhat intense because there's a lot of stuff that comes together there. We hold a lot there often. Like there's a lot of tension that gets built up there. So it can be somewhat intense to become conscious of that. So be gentle. And then when you are ready, you can come back up press up onto straight arms again. And you can come into a seated position in a way that's comfortable for you. There was much more that I had planned that we did not get to, but I'm just speaking out loud as I'm becoming aware that there was much more, but that's usually how it is. So I guess maybe tomorrow. So make your way to this comfortable seated position, and then transition in a good way to lying down on your back if you have room to do that. We'll just do a few small things here before we wrap up for today. So here you're going to want to make sure that you've got adequate padding underneath you so that you're comfortable. We're going to maybe possibly do some shoulder opening explorations if that's good and comfortable and appropriate for you. And if not, then you won't do that. But you want to, point being that you don't want it to be too hard of a surface, because it will be very uncomfortable, probably, if it's too hard. So, okay, so you're on your back, and you can have one knee bent and the other leg will be comfortably straight, not rigid or anything, but just resting straight, if that's comfortable. Hopefully that's comfortable. And with the knee that's bent, you have the foot on the floor near to the buttocks. Not, doesn't have to be too near to the buttocks, but somewhere kind of up in that area. You might want to have it a little bit out to the side. It's up to you, whatever is comfortable for you. And what I'd like you to do is then start to experiment with pushing down into that foot and allowing for the buttock of the leg that's connected to the foot that you're pushing. So the foot that's on the floor, you're pushing down into that, and that buttock of that leg is kind of rolling to the other side a little bit. It lifts up off the floor, and the whole pelvis starts to roll to the other side a little bit, and then lower, and do that a few times, and then you can keep doing that, and maybe you get comfortable getting maybe you can even get the whole torso to start to roll over. So just pressing through the foot though. So trying to let everything else be as coordinated, non-resistant to the movement as possible, so that it can be pleasurable. So it's a bit like a wave almost. So slowly up and slowly down. So we won't do the shoulder bit because don't have enough time to do it properly today. So we won't do that bit. But this is sort of it's a nice preparatory step. Helps to, it's a very nice movement in and of itself. So we can reverse that now. So whenever you're ready, you can slowly straighten the bent leg and bend the straight leg and do the same movement on the other side. And then when you feel satisfied, you can either straighten both legs or bend both legs, whichever is more comfortable for you. And if neither of those is comfortable and you wish to sit up, you can sit up instead. Find a comfortable position, though, and I'm suggesting, since you're already lying down, you might as well continue to lie down as long as it's comfortable for you. And we're just going to take a few moments now to consciously conclude the practice. So we've taken all of this time and done all of this very good work, very important healing work, with our intention, dedicated to our intention. So now let's just take a moment to allow all of that healing energy that has come to us as a result of this practice, and allow that to soak in and to be directed to bringing all of the healing that is in alignment with our true intention at all levels of our existence. So physical, mental, emotional, energetic, imaginative, at all levels, we can consciously receive that healing energy and direct it to the fulfillment of our intention, our good intention, and then surrender this to nature, to that which knows our own souls intimately and allow for ourselves to be supported in the fulfillment of the very best and greatest for ourselves and for all beings. So have a positive intention as you begin to transition into the next thing that is happening in your life, knowing that all of this healing energy is supporting you in the fulfillment of your soul purpose, so that goodness is coming to you and goodness is expressing through you and from you. And miracles really are happening. And so expect the miracles. And that's it for today. Blessings to you all. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.